most of them do not stand for a while. And of course, most of the Ugandan businesses have got quite a number of challenges, whereby starting it up may be easy, but staying for even 2 to 3 years becomes quite hard. And I'm still with David Katuma, who is the founder, Katuma Sports Center Limited, and we are discussing more of this particular one. Now into our second part of the discussion. Well, as we are looking at situations to do with investments, now let's also look at the multinational corporations that we do have in the country, and also those that are mainly owned by Ugandans. I would wish to know, where are some of the challenges as to why most of them also end up collapsing?
Well, there are many reasons. For multinational corporations, their challenges are pretty different
from the local ones. Okay.
Now, the biggest challenge is these multinational companies.
Okay.
First of all, most of them enter this market. They get attracted to our market. Africa in general, it's a very attractive market. Yes. Also, Uganda is a very attractive market. As I earlier mentioned, that it is almost a virgin in each and every services, and almost in each and every industry. Their biggest problem or challenge is that most of them enter the market without performing due diligence. Or when they perform the due diligence, or when they conduct the research, still they use foreign consultant companies.
Instead of using the people who know the market already.
Exactly. Now these foreign consultant firms, they lack the knowledge, the ground knowledge on what is going on in our market here. So what they should do, I think they should use the local firm, reputable local firm, consultant firms, to help them knowing or conducting a real due diligence, knowing what exactly is going on in our market here, what are our cultures, what are our beliefs, and those stuff like that.
Okay.
Another challenge with those multinational companies is the challenge of still dishonest employees, because for them they over-focus on education qualification of Ugandans.
Okay.
Yet we have so many Ugandans who are, maybe they are having masters in business administration, yet they don't have the specialization, they don't have the experience. Another thing is we have so many fraudsters here who fraud those multinational companies. Even employees, let alone the fraudsters, even the employees that they employ, some of them, they see these multinational companies as an opportunity to steal. You get the thing?
Yes, I do.
As a chance to steal. I mean, we've read in papers every day about the employees stealing billions of shillings from these multinational companies. So those are some of the challenges with these multinational companies.
When you mention about people employing Ugandans who are more qualified because of the academic standing, I need to understand what level of experience, or what should an employer look at before hiring someone? Because now this is quite open. I believe you are already in an investment space. You at least know what you need in an employee. But then what is needed mainly for someone to get into that particular job? Or what do you as employers look at before? Do you look at the qualifications, or you want a qualification backed by some skill and at least some management ability?
Yeah, usually if you are to succeed in a business in Uganda, unlike in Europe or in other parts of the world, you don't have to primarily focus on education qualification or higher education qualifications. You have to balance the two. You have to balance the ability of someone to perform the job and their education. Usually for us as local investors, we look at education qualification like diplomas, certificate. If someone with a diploma can have the ability or the competence to perform the service, then you're good to go. But unfortunately for these multinational companies, they are kind of copy and paste. They want to copy European standards to African market, which sometimes is not possible.
Okay. And we've talked about the education levels of Ugandans, the academic qualifications, and this is one of the reasons as to why it is hindering most of them to develop business ideas or keep their businesses at stake. Does this mean if one is not educated enough or they've received less education, they cannot run a business in the country? Or are there many chances of them succeeding more than the educated ones?
No, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that highly educated people do not perform.
Okay.
But what I mean, there are some highly educated people who are employed just for the sake of their education qualification rather than their ability to perform the service or to produce results. And these people, usually they become too expensive for these multinationals because of their high qualification. Yet when it comes to perform, most of them, they don't perform according to their level of education qualifications. That's why for me I say I rather employ someone with a diploma, but when they have the capacity to produce my desired results as an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, my business survives on only profits. We don't get donations, we don't get grants from government or from other entities or from organizations, because we are not non-profit making organizations, we are not charity organizations, we are commercial businesses which entirely survive on your profitability level. So you need a team that can produce exactly that, a team that can yield as much profits as possible, rather than just employing someone just for ceremonial, that I'm employing people with PhDs or with MBAs, but when even a mayor certificate holder can even perform better than them.
Okay. You've been in the sports business for a while, and your name sounds more than any other person doing the kind of business you're doing. But when you look at, if you're to draw a comparison to other businesses in Uganda, some have already collapsed. Some people maybe that you started with at the time. Where do you think has been your biggest strength that you can clearly give a tip or three to some of the viewers out there to understand how best they can maintain their business for a longevity of time?
Yeah, that's a very intelligent question. What has helped me is I started small, and I expanded, I grew big, and along the way, I accumulated lots of experience. So what I've realized is that for one to succeed in a business in Uganda, you don't primarily need much financial capital, but rather contacts, experience, knowing how to do business. Because the Ugandan way of doing business is, I believe, this is my own opinion, it's different from the European way of doing business or the Asian way of doing business. You need, because we have so many mediocres in the business industry, we have so many fraudsters, we have so many corrupt officials in entities who are our biggest stakeholders. I mean, we have mediocres here, there, everywhere in the business. For example, whoever you approach to help you, they want something before helping you. Being it the tax correction entities, whoever you approach in Uganda
wants
They want something before helping you. Why these multinational or foreign investors fail? Because that one is not in their culture of doing business.
It has to be streamlined.
It has to be streamlined. It has to be straightforward. They are not used to that kind of duck and dive in.
Okay.
So they need to understand the Ugandan way of conducting business if they are to succeed. And they have to be flexible. They have to flex their behaviors into our way of doing
the Ugandan way of doing business. Is there a way we can change this Ugandan way of doing business, of flexing a little bit and going into the other side of the coin, just so we can stay in business? Is there a way we can streamline ours as well, to be straightforward?
Yes, it's possible, but very difficult, and it requires a lot of time and training. But it is possible. Eventually we can achieve that future, but it needs a lot of resources, a lot of time, and a lot of educating our people.
Well, if we had to look at the main cause of this one, do you think it is caused by we Ugandans accepting the fact that this is how we should do business, this is how we should deal with those in authority, if at all we want to go through something hindering our growth in business, or we can change it, or can we change it as the business people, or is it the officials themselves who are creating it that way?
As long as there's something called poverty in Uganda, still it is difficult, because not everyone is passionate about doing business that way, and not everyone is passionate about corruption or embezzlement. But what I've realized, that some people are pushed by poverty, pushed by the situation. If you look at our people, in a country where it takes someone 10 days to make 20,000 shilling, really, what do you expect in such a country?
You expect a lot of bribes to take place, corruption to take place. But you see, President Museveni continues to carry on different operations to ensure that corruption comes to an end. You've mentioned poverty. Now, besides the issue of poverty and all that, I wish to understand still, if someone at any one point has been running a business for, let's say, 10 years, and it comes to a situation as we've seen the likes of the ShopRite game, the Minister of Finance recently said that if they went to government for help, government would have assisted them. Have you in any way been in a situation and government bailed you out?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Another thing, the government, I think, is having a wrong perception on this.
Okay.
Why these companies, the foreign companies, are collapsing, it's not primarily because of lack of financial capital.
Okay.
Remember, these companies come here with billions of dollars. If you remember, like companies like the way they started. I remember seeing almost in each and every daily paper, they had at least almost 6 pages of adverts every week. Now, would you call a company like that it lacks financial capital? Of course no. It is other challenges. Their problem is not financial capital.
Okay.
Their problem, corruption in the society where they operate. They don't know how to operate in corrupt societies. That is number one.
Okay.
Because in their home territories, corruption is very limited, and corruption is not part of their culture, and they don't know how to operate in a corrupt society. Number two, they don't know how to employ thieves.
Okay.
Most of our employees here are thieves. For us,
because they know once you get into a multinational company, there are dollars and billions in there.
So they see them as opportunities to do what? To steal, to rob, to to do this, to do that. But for us, the local entrepreneurs, we know all that. We know how to operate in a corrupt society like Uganda. We know how to employ thieves. You employ someone, is your manager, is your supervisor, is your accountant, but you know that they are thieves.
They want to take something from your business.
What you consider is how much do they steal from me and how much do they make for me.
Okay, so we are dealing in a society that is quite treating everybody unfair. If I'm trying to get to you, because in most of the engagements I've been having with some of the business owners, they will still tell you our employees do take money out of our businesses. Absolutely. And just like you've said, most of them focus more on how much this employee is making. If at all the employee is bringing in a lot of money, you don't want to focus a lot on how much he's taking from you. But how do you deal with such situations? I feel to live with someone who's not truthful to you, you'll be a bit insecure, a bit scared of the fact that this person is doing certain things behind my back. At the end of the day, it may cost your business. How do you deal with them?
It takes an intelligent entrepreneur not to fire someone who is stealing from their business when they know that so and so is stealing from my business.
Okay.
Because, for instance, I give you an instance whereby you employ someone, and that someone is making 1 million shilling for you every day. And out of that 1 million shilling that they have made for your entity, they steal 10% or 20%.
Of the 1 million?
Of the 1 million.
Okay.
And you remain with the 70%. Say someone is making for you 1 million, but you know that out of that 1 million, they steal 300,000 and they report 700,000. It takes an intelligent entrepreneur not to fire that employee. As compared to employing someone who is honest, but they are not making any money for you. It has ever happened to me. Employed a very honest young girl as my manager in one of my branches, but she was making almost 0 sales. Okay. But looking at the bills, electricity, you have to clear electricity, even the phone. You have to settle this and the other what? And the other bill. So you need to weigh all these situations. That, okay, instead of employing someone who is incompetent, someone who is honest but incompetent, they are making for me 200,000, but they are stealing. They are not stealing anything from my business, but they are making for me 200,000 a day. And someone comes, but they steal 300,000 from your business every day, but they make for you 1 million. Now, who do you fire and who do you employ?
You're going to stick with the one who's making you more money, because of course you realize everyone is not perfect, but they are bringing in the money.
But for a multinational company or for a foreign investor,
once that happens, you're gone.
Once they discover that so and so is stealing, that's it. They fire them and then they criminalize them. That's what I'm not promoting what stealing or corruption, but I mean in a situation that is abnormal, why do you have to act normally?
Okay.
You have to act abnormally
to fit in the situation.
To fit in an abnormal what? Situation.
No, if you want to create a clear path, I believe there is no way you need to follow the same vices that you found. I think this is one of the reasons as to why the foreign investors or the multinational companies want to follow their own chain. But I do love your argument with the fact that the reason as to why sometimes they fail is because they want to do business in the same way they're doing it in their own countries, and yet here there is always a different way of doing business, and they have to follow the jargons of doing so.
Yes, they want to copy and paste their business models in Europe and perform those models here in Africa. Yet in Africa, our society is abnormal as compared to their society in Africa, or rather in Europe.
In Europe.
So if you operate in an abnormal situation, you have to act abnormal because the situation is abnormal. You'll be abnormal if you operate normally in an abnormal situation. So bottom line, if you operate in a corrupt society, you have to flex yourself into that society.
Okay.
If you are to succeed.
Okay. And then I wish to also understand why do we have a number of our local investors here dealing more in the importation of goods, and even when they import, they still sell them highly, regardless of whether they are original or fake. Now, for instance, you in the sports world, I think here you can easily tell us more of the differences. How do you people tell? Because you get there, for example, jerseys, players' jerseys. That you will get a fans original, then you get a players original. But then you realize, as you follow the social media platforms of these football clubs, sometimes you get to find that most of them have not yet released these jerseys. But then we have them on the market here. Where do we get all these fake products hitting our markets?
Those ones come from Northeast Asia, China, India, those countries. Because for them, they are open to each and every order that a customer come up with.
Okay.
Another thing is that it will not be fair to think that you're going to trade only original products in a market where it takes someone 5 days to earn 10,000 shillings. You get these original products. If you look at them, they are quite expensive. I'll give you an instance where just a soccer boot cost £400. If you convert that into Ugandan shilling, it's more than 1 million shilling. Now, how many people do you think, how many customers do you think can buy or can afford to buy such a soccer boot? You get the thing. Excuse me, I promise it's not COVID.
Okay.
So sometimes you find that you need to flex yourself into the market. You have to learn, as people who are on the ground, we first weigh the market. We start look at the market, say how many customers do you have? Because a vast majority of our population, they are living under absolute poverty. These are people who earn, you know, if you look at our per capita income, is it $1 something? Yeah, the income of Ugandans, it's $1. On average, it is $1. So if someone earns $1 a day, that is 3,800 shillings, right? So that means for someone to save 30,000, it will take them almost 10 days to save 30,000.
That means they're going to get away with some meals as well.
Exactly. And that is the market you're operating from. And you believe that that market can afford to buy your so-called original product from Europe. You will not be fair with yourself and will not be fair with your market.
All right. David, you find a few words as we are winding up with our discussion.
I just want to encourage Ugandans, especially those who want to join entrepreneurship, that it is the best way to go now, considering the situation. You know, there are so many people. Why Ugandans we are still poor? We are not doing well. It's because the vast majority of our people, especially those who are educated, they look down these entrepreneurship activities, and those who want to join, they are looking at starting at a big scale. Yet when you look at the list of billionaires, world billionaires, they are entrepreneurs. We don't have employees on the list of the world billionaires. So if you want to succeed, much as for now you're in paid employment, you have to think of joining the entrepreneurship. Yes, it is challenging, it is stressing, but if you want to be good to go, you need to think about it, and you have to think of starting small, and then you acquire experience, you acquire customers, contacts, and then you diversify to what? To success.
Okay.
Otherwise, Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talking to millions of your viewers.
All
I
right.
really appreciate it.
Many thanks for being part of our discussion, and it's been a pleasure having you. And for the viewers, wherever you've been catching up our discussion, we're looking at local investments and also looking at some of the multinational companies. Why is it hard for most of the businesses to succeed in Uganda, and why do most of them end up collapsing? And the ideas have been many that have been shared in our conversation here, and I hope you've picked one or two in there. Stick around. When we return, we have the SMB on ground with Berija Andrew.